Hello, sir.
Good evening. My name is Helen Anthony. I am the chair of the Committee on Finance. I'm calling to order a regular meeting on Tuesday, January 28th, 2025 at 5:36 p.m. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Chairwoman Anthony,
Present.
Vice Chairman Taylor,
Here.
Councilor Angela, present. Councilwoman Graves is absent, Councilor Sanchez.
Present.
We have 4 present and 1 absent, we have a quorum.
Thank you so much. I would just like to recognize that we have Karen Camerini from the Solicitor's Office joining us this evening. And a wonderful clerks, Marissa and Donna. Thank you so much for all you do for us always. With that, I would like, please read item number 1.
Resolution authorizing approval of the following contract award by the Board of Contract and Supply in accordance with section 21/26 B1 and 2. Augustini Construction Incorporated, $1,309,374 public property.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes, please. I
as,
appreciate it.
as you recall, less than a week ago, this item came up and there was discussion relative to the authority of the Providence Building Authority to go out to bid on their own, separate and apart from the city council. And there was talk about Jeff Dana was aware of it and essentially knew about it and agreed with the opinion. At this committee's request, I did speak to the solicitor and he is in agreement. He and Megan DeSanto from the office researched this issue several years ago. However, we did have Mr. Salvador provide a legal opinion, which Jeff has read and agrees with it regarding the authority. And if that were to change, the authority, if this committee had requested the authority to change, where they would have to comply with the Board of Contract and Supply, that would require a change in the general law, the statute.
Okay.
So that was provided, I think there are 2 pages. Yes. Yes. They're not stapled, they're on.
Oh, the weird statement.
The clerks might be able to help us. I think I'm missing page 1.
Yeah, this is one.
I'll know my limitations.
No, I think I have to double that.
Oh, maybe I don't.
We'll have the clerks handle that, but another issue came. Madam Chair, this is a one-page document, which I think I can handle. Yeah, I don't understand how we take the glue. If you look at the format, so.
And then that's the piece.
Yep, the other relevant issue the issue that came up was, the agreement, the retainer agreement with Mr. Salvador and how that came about. Here I have a letter from, to Jeff Dana from Mal Salvador relative to that question. And just for clarity for the committee, the solicitor's office does not retain, does not pick the attorney, Mr. Salvatore. This is done separate and apart. It's not paid through the city, the law department. And we'd have to discuss that with Providence Public Building Authority, what their process is for retaining Mr. Salvador and how they pay him. But the solicitor is not aware how they do that.
Thank you very much.
And my apologies for the distribution of the first document.
Typically not your job to copy.
Apology accepted.
Yeah, make these, so I do appreciate.
Thank you, Donna.
Appreciate it.
This is, yeah, this is the separate documents. Which everyone has, it's a one-page document.
So I am going to mark these, I don't actually know if well, your recommendation, if I mark these, I can mark these.
Yeah, I don't see a problem.
Okay, all right, they have a motion to mark the 3-page letter from El Salvador, to me, as exhibit 1.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Taylor, seconded by Councilor Amberlaw, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed. And then I would like to mark the memorandum to Jeff Dana from El Salvador regarding the auditor question regarding fee agreements. I'd like to mark that as exhibit 2.
Second.
All right, motion made by Counselor Taylor, seconded by Counselor Anderball, all in favor? Aye, all opposed. So I very much appreciate this in writing. I think that the item itself, I think the reason we had such a robust discussion at the last meeting was, you know, I think the BBA wanted to explain what their process was for, their procurement outside of the Board of Contract and Supply. The fact is, this has been paid. I think we were just basically, our auditor wanted to bring this matter to our attention, I think for good reason. So I think our questions have been answered, and this is the state statute that gives this body the power to do what they can do, so they can procure. And they also are not subject, I believe, to the Board of Contract or the procurement regulations, which is concerning for us as counselors, because we certainly are another, you know, we are supposed to have oversight on all the financial affairs, and so technically, the way the statute is written is its authority was created, they don't have to, or, you know, they do not have to come under a purview. So all I'm gonna say is, I know that we did have a new appointment on the, on this BBBA. We also have Matthew McCleary recently appointed. I can't really, we have Nicole, who was just recently appointed. You know, it's the mayor's appointees. I think this has been, you know, subject to concern, not only under this mayor, but other than the prior mayor. And so I think the only way, without going to the state legislation address, which not only applies to our public building authority, but others throughout the state, it might be a heavy lift to try to get that amended. My hope is that with the new members of the BBBA, that we will have more collaborative, transparent process between them. I know I will be reaching out quite a bit to, and that they will send all their procurement through us.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all I have to say. I don't know if anyone else has anything to add or discuss, but if you do, you know, but I think we've come to the end of what we can do on this particular matter. Does that make sense?
No.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think it should have, am I good?
Yes, please.
I think we should have started, last meetings with the understanding that it had been paid. I think it would have saved a lot of, headaches, and confusion. But I think another concern that I don't think got addressed in this was it seemed like, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, that the building authority, special counsel was also represented the folks that bid, and I think like, I know that's not our legal department's enforcement, but if we could somehow communicate that to current leadership of the building authority, that at least on the level surface, it's probably unacceptable. And reflects on the city at the end of the day, that I don't know, can they put it in their bylaws or what, or just their code of conduct going forward is my biggest concern that I don't think has been really addressed or spoken about in these letters. And I do appreciate for them disclosing it to us, or else we would never probably know. They, you know, they did bring it for what it's worth. But yeah, that's really the only thought I have on that.
I like that idea, because that was, I mean, that's flagrant. Conflict of interest, with no opinion.
Yeah,
No
there's
ethics
no
opinion.
ethics opinion,
Yeah.
anything, and you seem kind of surprised by the question, so.
So I agree. I think that, maybe we do a little deeper dive, you know, how they are structured and whether they impact our bylaws. And that's a very good idea. So, Aaron,
Where'd Aaron go?
where's Aaron?
He was here a minute ago.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, well, let me,
He came a month ago.
I'll task Aaron with that. Just so we don't lose that thread and see if there's something we can do to follow.
Mhm.
But with that said, I think we cannot hold this on our agenda.
Do we need to vote on it?
I
It's
think
already
we
been-
might-
Yes, you have to.
Continue and
Motion
definitely.
to approve.
Oh, okay, all right. I guess, Yes, I need a motion. to
Make a motion, we approve number one.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve number one made by Councilor Taylor, seconded by Councilor Sanchez. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, well, thank you so much, Mr. Shepherd, for helping us pass the written.
And Mr. Dana did respond, as at the request of this committee.
Yes. You did, okay. All right, Madam Clerk, agenda item number 2.
Communication from His Honor the Mayor dated December 6, 2024, informing the honorable members of the City Council that pursuant to sections 302B and 1011 of the Providence Clean Road Charter of 1980, as amended in Public Law, Chapter 45-50, sections 1 through 31, passed in 1987, he is this day reappointing Bruce Bartel, 114 Joshua Street, Providence, Rhode Island, 02908, as a civil engineer member of the Building Board of Review for a term to expire on January 1st, 2030, and respectfully submits the same for your approval.
Mr. Bartel, can we have you come up? We're gonna have you stand and we'll swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. Please swear that the testimony that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please state your name for the record.
Ms. Bartel?
Well, first, I'd like to start by thanking you for your service to the city. We very, very much appreciate it. And you have provided us with, how long have you served on the?
I should know that. 10 years, longer.
Okay, all right. Well, we have your resume. Is there anything that you would like to add about your building, your background, and particularly I'm interested in is how is the board running? Do you have a lot of business and can it be improved?
My background is a structural engineer
Mhm.
with bridges. So Nelson knows a lot more about the construction and all the permitting and what gets permitted in the city of Providence, but Alexis and Luca do a great job sending things through the board, and so I have no complaints.
And how often do you meet?
Monthly, if there's business,
And is there usually business every month?
with the ADU, there's some new regulations, so that is picked up. Convergence from 2 to 3, things like that. So recently there's been pretty much something every month,
Okay.
but there was a probably 6-month period when they were taking care of it and permitting buildings and standards.
So what are you seeing on ADUs coming before the community?
That's probably not the right term.
That's great.
They're converting, you can now convert to a three family from a 2-family.
Hmm.
It's essentially adding more housing units to the city. Some people did it better than others. So you're walking through a basement unit that's gonna be converted, and some people did it right and it's easy to do, others have to make extensive modifications. So we're there to make sure they do it correctly and safely.
And you're willing, even though you've served 10 years, you're willing to serve another term.
My wife called me a rescue husband, so from COVID, I've been working from home a lot, so it's just getting out and about and gets me in contact with people.
Fair, that's fair.
My brother-in-law is the mayor of Grand Rapids. His wife, my sister is on the city commission, county commissioners in Grand Rapids, so I feel like this is my little bit of public service.
We're happy to have you.
No, glad to be here.
Committee members. Comments, questions?
Yeah, Karen.
Yes, please.
Thank you for your service and for being here. Just because I don't know as much about the board of review as I'd like to, so do you actually go to the residences to inspect, or are you just reviewing the plans at the monthly meetings, or how does it work?
Both.
Okay.
Usually it's a visit to there's a site visit set up for maybe a half hour or 45 minutes beforehand. If you do, sometimes the plans don't show everything that could go wrong or should be addressed.
Yeah.
So it's often helpful to walk through and see what's going on at the site. Gives you more perspective when you see a dimension, where you go, that dimension's not right, something can be off. But usually you go out to the site. Sometimes it's just a simple, more administrative detail, but typically site visits. And again, not everybody can make every visit, so usually 1 or 2 or 3, sometimes everybody can get out there.
That's great.
Yeah.
And are there like typical, just like wanting to learn more about the housing stock, are there typical issues you see as people are trying to make these types of conversions, or as they're coming before the board? Are there typical like I do a lot of work in energy efficiency, and it's like the biggest thing is knob and tube wiring. Like, are there things that like,
Well, that's not really us.
that's not you, but that's just the example of like,
Right.
here's a typical thing that comes up a lot.
The biggest thing is the station fire that reset sort of fire codes and sprinkler system.
Yeah.
So in the new 3-family, I believe it meets the more.
Yeah.
The tighter code, so everybody wants sprinklers, but how do you put sprinklers in a
And
three-story tenant?
yeah,
So there's this, we have the same sort of remedies that we do over and over again, so there's some of those sorts of greater things that we have to take care of. But the code consultants and the people who know, these are not unreasonable conditions,
okay.
so. But yeah, those sorts of conversions are the bread and butter of the community.
Those are most of mine.
Yes.
I'm sorry, you got me like a little excited on the fire sprinklers. That's something I wanna try to push at the state house is to try to, you know, maybe modify that a little bit, because we did in our comprehensive plan, convert all the 2-family into R3 essentially, but from my understanding, a lot of builders and developers aren't building 3-family homes because that does put them into a different fire code standard. So I don't know if you'd have an opinion on whether we should try to keep that at the state level, or if you think it's.
You've set fire safety policy here. I mean, do you want everybody to be 100% safe? Sure. I mean, is that ever gonna happen? No, I don't see that happening. It's tough. Every time you have another regulation, another, you know, requirement, it gets that much more expensive for everybody to buy a house. So I don't have much to offer on that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you coming down this evening, getting out of the house.
My pleasure.
Motion to approve?
Second,
All right, motion to recommend approval of your appointment by Councilor Anderson, seconded by Councilor Sanchez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed. We'll be forwarding the recommendation for approval to the city council.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hey, Madam Clerk, will you please read the next agenda item?
Communication from His Honor the Mayor dated December 6, 2024, informing the honorable members of the City Council that pursuant to sections 302B and 1011 of the Providence Quinwood Charter of 1980, as amended in Public Law, Chapter 45 through 50, Sections 1 through 31, 1987, he is this day reappointing Nelson Ferreira of 100 Mathewson Street, Providence, Rhode Island, 02903, as a member of the Building Board of Review for a term to expire on January 1st, 2030, and respectfully submits the same for your approval.
Mr. Ferrera. We would like to swear you in.
You swear on the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I did.
And to state your name for the record.
Nelson Ferrer.
Mr. Ferrera, well, we very much like to thank you for your service to the city. How long have you served on the, on the review?
I do, matter of fact, I was looking this morning and it was, yeah, it was about 9 to 10 years.
Thank you, thank
It
you.
was really at the beginning of the Mayor Borges term.
Okay. And I guess I'll just ask, are you a project manager? Is that your expertise, or can you tell me what expertise you bring to the board?
Sure. So I think one of the reasons I was asked to be a part of the board, as like Bruce is, board chair, is his expertise is in structural engineering. One of the board seats that was asked to be filled was a construction expert. And I guess I fit that description there. I've been in the industry now for over 30 years, primarily focusing now on commercial construction. I'm a part owner in a local firm called Track Builders here in the city. We're working on several different projects here that are noted. Projects like Crossroads, Rhode Island, or Summer Street project, and other projects through the city. one of the things that I think the board focuses or looks for me upon is when we're looking at these applications that are coming in. And sitting along with us on the board is Christine West, who's an architect, and there's Steve Wilkinson, who's a mechanical engineer. We each look at things from our perspective, with mine primarily, I think, focused on constructability, and how things can actually be put together, or if they're reasonably, if the requests are reasonable in that aspect. Really, one of the primary duties that this board has is helping decisions be made at the building department. I want to say is kind of stuck. They have to follow the codes. And if there's an appeal to the decisions being made by following those codes, they come to our board for relief or to state their position on why they think relief should be granted. And by having this the first board allows us to understand all the aspects that are here in the request. Some of those being constructability, or there are different types of hardships, or perhaps, and many times, there are betterments that are being provided in different ways, like this suppression in some of these buildings. There are other methods that provide additional safety measures put in that the code may not state it that this is acceptable, and it has to be put in front of the board to help make that decision.
Excellent. Sounds like it's a function of a well-functioning board. Thank you very much. We'll open it up for questions or comments. Yes, Counselor Sanchez.
Thank you, Nelson, for willingness to serve again. Do the folks making appeals, do they bring like their own like engineers or experts to make their case?
Many of them do, especially on the more complex applications. They'll hire experts and code experts that review the applications, and in many ways will cite section of the codes that point out why their application has reasonable merit for consideration. Some of them are even experts that specialize in providing criteria on why their approach will be acceptable. And some of them are architects or engineers. On the more simple ones, it may be an owner that's done a lot of research and presented why their case should be heard. So it tends to be a pretty wide range.
Thank you.
Questions, comments? We're just so thankful you're willing to serve another term.
Thank you.
It's-
I'll add as well that I think during the years that we've been on the board, it's come a long way, and it's good to see the progress that it's made, helping applicants coming in and getting things that they, even though we don't approve every single application, but it's made great progress along the way that I think has been benefiting the city.
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Actually, can I have one
Yes,
question?
oh, yes. Go ahead.
I'll be super fast.
Yeah.
Thank you. To that point, do you think that there's anything missing from the current board, any areas of expertise or things like as you've gotten stronger over the last decade that you've both served? Anything that you've noticed is missing, or you think?
I mean, I believe we have one more seat that's available to sit, and I think that was earmarked to be somebody with an electrical background.
Okay,
I think the board's been doing fine, about that's being built with the amount of board members that we have. I think beside that, the building department has been doing a good job in trying to improve the process and pairing the applicants and even trying to work things out that they can before it has to come to the board.
okay,
So I definitely think the team in itself has done a good job.
thank you, that's great. And just so you know, when you were saying that you were the construction expert, Bruce was very enthusiastically nodding. So you can't see him, so I want you to know.
With that, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve number 3.
Second.
Okay, motion to make a recommendation of approval by Councilor Taylor, seconded by Councilor Vanderbilt, all in favor? Aye, all opposed. Thank you, we will enthusiastically recommend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for. All right, Madam Clerk. Item number 4.
Communication from His Honor the Mayor. Dated December 2024, informing the honorable members of the City Council that pursuant to sections 302B and 814 of the Providence Home Rule Charter of 1980, as amended in Public Law, Chapter 45 through 50, Sections 1 through 31, passed in 1987, he is this day reappointing Kojo V. King of 39 Fisk Street, Providence, Rhode Island, 02905, as a member of the Board of Tax Assessment Review for a term to expire on January 31st, 2028, and respectfully submits the same for your approval.
Mr. King. Thank you. You will stand to be sworn in.
Please raise your right
sir.
hand.
Thank
Do
you.
you swear under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And please state your name for the record.
Mr. King, thank you so much for joining us this evening. And thank you for your service to the city. How long have you been serving on the committee?
1 year.
You have been, I feel that we've met you before.
Yeah, like actually, yeah.
It's very long, right? But-
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I remember that we had a very good interaction with you the first time. I'm sorry that I didn't realize that it's only been a year. But we appreciate your service and we certainly have looked at your background before and we're very supportive of your appointment to begin with. Is there anything that you would like to cover with your experience thus far on the serving on this board?
Well, this year has been quite an experience. Most of the people on the board are veterans on the board, and you know, I learned a whole lot from that, and I would definitely like to continue the board.
And again, how often are you meeting?
We'll meet once a month, last Friday of the month, depending on cases.
And you have been very busy, the tax board,
So far, I've been very,
okay.
sometimes in the last 4 months. I think the last one, I think the whole year, we must have met like 4 or 5 times.
Okay, all right. And you feel that you're supported as a member of that board?
Oh, definitely. I'm getting more and more experience every day when I meet with these guys. But like I said, they're all veterans. These are all people that have been on the board for quite some time.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add? Now that you have our attention for a moment?
Well, you know, I work for the state of Rhode Island Division of Taxation for quite some time, so I'm really fresh when it comes to these type of work. I know exactly what's going on.
Good. That's good. Excellent. Committee members.
Just a quick one. Thank you so much for all of your service. Since you've only been on a year, are there things that you've really learned over the last year as you've been like learning from all the veterans on there? Is there big lessons or?
Well, the way they run the meeting and the things that they say in the meeting, you know, it's very educational. When I see all this send the big report to me, I have to go through a trial and meeting. And when I look at the meeting, it basically discuss of things in the report, and you know, I pick up.
Well, thank you very much for that. Anyone else? All right, and do we have a motion?
Make a motion and approve number 4.
Second.
Okay, a motion to approve, recommended for approval, made by Councilor Taylor, seconded by Councilor Sanchez. All in favor? Aye, all opposed. Thank you again for coming this season.
Thank you, George.
Okay. Madam Clerk.
Communication from His Honor the Mayor dated December 2024, informing the honorable members of the City Council that pursuant to section 302B and 814 of the Providence Home Rule Charter of 1980, as amended in Public Law, Chapter 45 through 50, Sections 1 through 31, passed in 1987, he is this day reappointing Robert L. Ritchie of 100 Exchange Street, Providence, Rhode Island, 02903, as a member of the Board of Tax Assessment Review for a term to expire on January 31st, 2028, and respectfully submit the same for your approval.
Mr. Ritchie, nice to see you. Thank you for coming.
Very nice to see you, Madam Chair.
Raise your right hand. Please swear on the plain faith perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
And please state your name for the record.
Robert L. Ritchie, LICC.
We're very happy to see that you were willing to serve another term. Thank you very much for your service to the city. Can you tell me how long you've been on the board?
Well, Mayor Loza appointed me into a partial term and then a full term, so I think about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
At least 4, maybe 5.
And tell me how the board is working these days.
I think the board works fine. It's a lot of work and it comes in. So it's seasonal, you know, as the taxes come out, it comes a flash back. Probably meet about 9 months a year. However, some of those meetings go 3 hours. So really only meet once a month. It's technical, you're dealing with excise tax, and you're dealing with property tax,
Mhm.
dealing with attorneys, and you're dealing with sometimes homeowners that don't understand the process.
Mhm. And do you feel supported? Do you have enough support?
Oh, absolutely. I think the staff is great, Bill and Kate, everyone in the assessor's office. And also my fellow board members, the chair is excellent. It's a good group.
Excellent. And then are you expecting an uptick, given that this is a statistical
Yes.
reval year?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right.
We have perennial applicants.
Isn't that politely put?
Yes.
Okay.
Plus the new, of course.
Of course. Well, we're all eager to see what that looks like, when that statistical reval is done, but I appreciate your service, because I know that, it's important for our residents to feel that they have the opportunity to be heard
Yes,
on their assessments, so.
they certainly do. And if they got a representative from out of town, will call in. Sometimes they have, because sometimes companies may own a hotel, they're large. And a person who is trying to straighten out why they haven't filed what their inventories are usually around the excise tax. Will call in instead of having to travel.
Good, good,
So I think the city's very accommodating.
excellent. Okay, I'll open it up for questions or comments. Councilor Anderbaugh.
A quick question. Well, one, thank you so much for your service and all you do. Are you seeing any in your 4 or 5 years you've been doing this, any specific trends besides some of our frequent flyers, but any trends in the types of things that get brought to you or the types of concerns that people are raising?
Yeah, the commercial, I think, is a very, at times can be very high for some of the businesses and compliance with the filing their inventories.
Okay.
Well, that should dissipate a bit because the legislature has now given the 50,000, they still have to
Yeah.
file, but the first 50,000 in value is gonna be exempted. I imagine the state's gonna pay the city directly, so I think that's a big advantage. For the taxpayer and for the city, because it's gonna cut down a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
So if you got like a little small business and say even like a little repair garage for a car.
Yeah.
And he's gotta send in, he's gotta say he's got a desk, and he's got 3 or 4 radiator hoses and all that, so, you know, still would have to, but he's not gonna get taxed on it.
Okay, let's hope. Okay.
That's an exemption, that was passed by the state last year to assist a small business.
Oh, that's great. I heard a lot of complaints. I represent the area that is Hope Street. We have a lot of
Yes,
little
yes, ma'am.
businesses with lots of
You
little.
got a lot of small
Yeah.
businesses up there, I go to.
Lot of
Businesses, I
inventory.
go to 7 Stars and all, you know, so if you take the tailor shop, he has to
Yeah,
submit an inventory every year, she's got a sewing machine or whatever, a counter, a cash register, you know, so.
Yeah.
She'll do that, but she's not
But
gonna
she's
get that, if it doesn't exceed the cap of 50,000 in value of that equipment.
yeah,
And it won't, because it's usually, most of this equipment's old unless it's in the business, it's gonna be depreciated, so. They're not gonna have to pay that, it's just small businesses, it's a statewide,
Yeah,
it's a
that's
state
great.
statute, so it's statewide, but it'll help small businesses in the city.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Anyone else? Okay, a motion?
Make a motion to approve number 5.
Second.
Okay, motion to recommend approval, item number 5 by Councilor Taylor, seconded by Councilor Sanchez, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you very much.
We appreciate it. Okay, moving right on. Madam Clerk.
Communication from His Honor, the Mayor, dated December 6, 2024, informing the honorable members of the City Council that pursuant to Section 302B of the Providence Home Rule Charter of 1980, as amended, Section 8 to 13 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Providence, and Public Law, Chapter 45 through 50, Sections 1 through 31, passed in 1987. He is this day reappointing David Igliozzi Esquire of 1351 Pippin Orchard Road, Cranston, Rhode Island, 02921, as the Chief Judge of the Providence Housing Court for a term to expire on January 6, 2028, and respectfully submit the same for your approval.
Your Honor, thank you.
You swear in the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And please state your name again for the record.
David Igliozzi.
Thank
Good
you.
evening, Madam Chair, members of the council.
Good evening. So happy to see you. We really appreciate you waiting. I'm sorry. It's much better than last meeting, let me tell you that. But, well, we are so appreciative that you were willing to continue to serve. Very eager to hear. I don't think any of us have any questions about your background and your long service, to this city. So I guess what I'd like to ask is specifically if your housing court is running the way you would like it to. And, you know, in terms of staff, anything you'd like to do?
Sure, I've only recently, the last couple of years, been elevated to be chief judge. Before that, I was just a member and associate of the court. And when I became the chief judge, I took it upon myself to meet with the administration, try to do 3 or 4 things. One was to bring technology to the court, like you have here. So that theoretically, people who appear before the court, especially if it's not a trial, could appear by Zoom instead of having to come to court. That seems to be working pretty well. Not many people appear in person, like allow them to call in and see the number. So that's a little bit, but we're working. That was one issue, to get the technology. So technology brought us a step forward, I think, and helped the court to allow people to appear, not just busy lawyers, but also constituents. There are people that live in New York City and own property in Providence, and I'm calling New York, from New York, so that's happening. The second thing I try to do is improve the computer case management. We had a very old system that really is a function of the clerks creating one on the spot, like an Excel worksheet, if those of you are familiar with it. So with the city's support, they went out to bid, and they're in the process of actually getting a computer case management system for not just the housing court, but for all the courts in the city, because all of them are antiquated. So it's not my idea, but I did bring it up, and it was taken up seriously by the administration, and I'm very happy to see that that's in place. The other thing that we tried to do is the physical conditions of the court. There are chairs that are broken, tables that are broken, things like that. And the clerk's office had some tables, and we made that request, and my understanding is the administration is working with the council to do kind of a citywide inventory to do something very cost effective to improve not just our place, but the whole city. So that's not done yet, but hopefully that will be done. I mean, there were some situations that were could cause me some concern, like, the old dividers. One of the clerks got a divider, and it's like, they got tape covering sharp edges, I'm just throwing that out. I'm sure it's all over the city, but the fact that the administration took these requests seriously was really heartening to me. The other thing we've been working very well, I'm gonna be honest with you, the administration has been great. The law department operates really well. They do a great job. The building department of inspection and standards does a great job. Have mercy on them, they're overworked.
Yeah.
So with that all said, and I don't want to bore you all, but you all know that the function of the court is to maintain the housing stock of the city. That's our goal, right? And so we can only handle cases that come before us. And sometimes people don't understand that there are cases that are pending in court that are going through a litigation process that involves people's property rights. So while they're in litigation, it isn't like sometimes people don't see action fast enough. Because there may be a case pending, but there's a trial going on, there's hearing going on, and they still see a broken window or a house in disrepair. So I urge you all to be cognizant of that process to dealing with people's rights. Three more points and I'll be
Yeah,
quiet.
no, please.
One is, I've always taken the position from early on that the way we treat people that come before the court is very important. Judicial temperament is what it's called in our business, that you should treat people with respect. People come to court, they don't always know what it's about. Some people think that they're facing criminal charges, you know, you gotta bring the temperature down. So you really gotta treat everybody with respect. You have people that come there pro se without lawyers. There are people that come there with lawyers. And there are, you know, developers. So we got three categories. Right? We've got banks, usually with lawyers. We've got developers who sometimes have lawyers, sometimes do not. And then we have a lot of individual property owners. Now, just again, we always look at property owners especially carefully because not everybody has the financial wherewithal to correct things. These things get very expensive. So we're very sympathetic and empathetic to property owners who participate in the system, show up in court, try to make a change, and try to give them all the time in the world. And with your help, my understanding is there's several programs that have been through the PRA and the Providence Revolving Fund that have created a mechanism for those homeowners. And I can't thank you enough for that. Because there are plenty of homeowners that want to fix their property, they just don't have the financial wherewithal. That's that category. Banks, obviously they have the financial wherewithal, we just gotta get them to come along. And same thing with developers. Developers are in the business, some are doing very well, some aren't. So those are the three categories that we deal with on a daily basis. So that's our job. We take it seriously. We know it reflects on you. I know it reflects on you. I sat in your seat. I know how you hear from your constituents, and I encourage you to contact us anytime. You want to know about a case, you're concerned about something, let us know. You may be surprised that there's a lot more going on than you think. Just not, you can't see it physically all the time. So that's just a little background about what we do on a daily basis. I don't know if you're all familiar with that, but we take it seriously. We know, I can't say it again, I'm repeating myself, but I know it reflects on the city, it reflects on the administration, it reflects on you as council people. And we'll do everything we can to make you proud of the city. Because the housing stock is important to the quality of life. And obviously your constituents. So I don't know, I'll answer any other questions. I'm sorry if I went so long, but I think about these things because having been in your seat and serving on this court for so many years, I really like seeing progress. And when we see it, we're always excited. You got great people working in the city. You really do. You all know this, right? Great people work in the court. The inspection department is just overworked. You know, try to keep them in mind the budget time. So I'll be quiet and I'll answer any questions you have. I will try to do my best if you're successfully reappointed to continue to do that same job.
Commissioners, and the committee members. Oh, you're all commissioners now, committee members.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I have a follow-up question. So I've got two things on my list based on this presentation. I am concerned, I agree that I think our courts need to be welcoming and available, and I appreciate everything you're doing. I am concerned, sounds to me like your physical conditions haven't changed for a while.
They have, now keep in mind, the administration, I'm not complaining. The administration is doing a citywide inventory, they want to do a cost-effective thing. I just mentioned, you asked me what was going on. We've got tremendous steps forward, but that's an issue that was of some concern because it started with the clerk's desk. And then we looked out in the audience and the table was a little rocky. Yeah, I'm sure if you looked, you wouldn't feel nearly as concerned as I am. But it just, I was trying to make the court to look the best possible can. I would want your constituents to come to a place that seems clean, neat, and by the way, we had some issues on that, and they were right there, the services of the janitorial service, they went through it, especially right after COVID, I lived all through COVID and all the screens and all that, you know, the plastic and all that. No, yeah, I don't wanna make it seem like I'm complaining about it.
It's okay, it's all right, you're not the only one, I'm just gonna say, okay? And then the second thing I'm interested in, and I'm only saying this because every year, at least since I've been chair, even before, on this committee, you know, I'm always wondering whether inspections and standards has enough staff. And so
They don't.
okay. The director always insists that he streamlined everything and that, no, they don't need more people, but I'm so glad to hear,
Well, the only reason why I say that,
right?
I'm sorry to bring this up, you brought it up.
Yeah.
First and foremost, 100% behind the administration. They are my boss, you're my boss. But when I was in your seat, there would be at least 1 or 2 inspectors per ward. Think of you as council people. You all walk your ward every election time. You walk it, and I would guess at any given time, you could go through your ward and you could make a list of any problem. But if I said to you, you had to be responsible for half the city, you would not have that. You would have a tough time making that list.
Yeah.
I just give you that visual, that if you gotta give these people area that they can accomplish, they can cover. I just remember walking my ward. You remember walking your ward, you walk door to door, you know every person, you know every building. I couldn't walk 3 of them.
Yeah.
In a year. So how are they going to monitor 3 or 4 wards and get all the housing? So I don't know how many there are, but I think there's not enough.
So just so I'm, just sorry to drag this out, but just since I have you.
At Mr. Schumer to make sure that I haven't overstepped my.
You will have an opportunity to correct anything that you think needs to be corrected, but, you know, I'm just thinking, so violations, so if we find the violation, we meaning the city, then that has to be coming to you.
Right, what happens, you mean you personally or that?
No, that, I mean, if the city, what I'm asking is, I don't know if we just, this is more a question for department inspections and standards, but if they find some sort of violation. And then it's not paid or remedied in a timely manner, then I assume that matter comes to you.
Right, that's correct. There's a state law statutory notice process, and this is what can be frustrating.
Yeah.
30-day notice, a second 30-day notice, and then failure to correct or abate within 60 days upon that second notice, then they file an action with our court. A lot of times, because of those notices, the city gets a lot of cooperation from people who either plug into a program the city has or just do it on their own. So I'm sure they handle a lot of violations that never get to our court. But then after that 60 days, and I tend to see ebb and flow. If we'll get a stack of files at one time, it's kind of the city working through a series of violations. And then when they get a bunch together, I'll hear from the clerks in the court, we got 20 today, or we got whatever. It's kind of like that. It's not consistent, it chunks at a time.
Got it.
But yes, that's the process, and you should be aware of the process so you don't get frustrated as council people thinking these matters are languishing because people aren't trying.
Yeah.
The department is trying, the clerks are working, and we're here working, whenever, if there's an emergency matter, there's 3 judges, anyone shows up on any day, if it's an emergency matter, we take it right away. We don't say, I'll see you next Tuesday, we come in on that day and we have an emergency matter. And there have been cases, in fact, Justice Augusta had an emergency matter that ended up going on for a couple of weeks, but it started as an emergency. Up on Spruce Street, I believe, maybe I don't want to let him tell you about that. I took way too much of your time, you were much too busy to listen to me, but I
We
want
can
to thank
listen to you
you all
quite a bit.
for asking questions.
We appreciate it.
And I'll keep looking at that.
We have a motion.
I make a motion we approve.
You're in our hands now. You're good.
Yeah, you're safe here.
This is safe space.
I can't get you.
I think we have a motion.
Second.
All right, the motion for recommendation of approval made by Counselor Taylor, seconded by Counselor Andenball. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
very
much.
much.
Thank you
We
so
really
much.
Appreciate your time. All right, Madam Clerk.
Communication from His Honor the Mayor dated December 6, 2024, informing the honorable members of the City Council that pursuant to section 302B of the Providence Home Rule Charter of 1980, as amended section 8 through 13 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Providence and Public Law, chapter 45 to 50, sections 1 through 31, passed in 1987. He is this day reappointing Paul Regosta, Esquire of 15 Lotus Place, Providence, Rhode Island, 02908, as an associate judge of the Providence Housing Court for a term to expire on January 6, 2028, and respectfully submits the same for your approval.
Thank you.
Whoa.
Hello.
Please raise your right hand. You swear on the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And please state your name for the record.
Your Honor, thank you very much for coming. We appreciate you coming to see us today, and we appreciate your service. I'm sure, no, it's not an easy job. I just appreciate your willingness to come.
Thank you. It's been an honor to serve this. I'm just finishing my first term. It's been a great experience.
And how long is that term been? I can't
It's
remember.
it's a 3-year term.
Okay.
The way it happened is I actually, instead of starting off in January, I actually started serving in June because it just delays that process. So my actual physical time is less than the 3, but it is a 3-year term.
Wonderful. And can you just tell me, I didn't ask this question before, do you have a division of duties? Do you handle certain cases within the housing court?
All 3 judges, we handle the same cases.
Okay.
Basically, whatever that calendar is for that day, it's basically randomly assigned. But it's not as if we handle, say, just zoning on a certain day and then the state building code or land on another day. It's a blend of different issues that might come up in front of the court.
And is there anything that you would like to share with us about your 3 years of service thus far?
Sure. First of all, it's a tough act to follow. And I probably would echo everything, except I love the furniture. It's great.
He's backing up on that.
Just make sure when you sit down, that you make sure it's stable. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been a great experience. I've learned a lot. I've been a lawyer for nearly 40 years. Housing, to me, is something very, very important. It's obviously a fundamental need of people. And in my practice, actually, there's one client, and I think Councilman Taylor is familiar with Wigan Village. I don't know if you all know Wigan Village. It's up in the West End. I've represented that nonprofit C3 for 37 or 8 years. Got to work with a wonderful community-based board, and I've held that out to even litigants in my court as a standard of quality. We've had cases where there's some folks in the area, commercial stuff, that it wasn't quite up to that standard, and I pointed that out. I said, look, take a ride down Crescent Street. It's 14 acres of property, we have 285 units, a commercial section, if you're familiar with it, and it's a model for the country. So that's the standard that I like to hold to everyone that comes in the court. I've been kind of known to be kiddingly with the lead paint judge, because that to me is a critical problem. And the first thing I do when I get a file, flip through and I'm looking for a lead paint. And you know, we can deal with debris in a yard and those things that can be done as long as they get on it. But the lead paint piece concerns me. you all may know, there's been a lot of initiative in the legislature, changes in that law to require. Now you can't do eviction cases for not paying the rent unless you have a certificate of compliance for that. That's a whole other topic. It's unfortunately, the awareness of that on the part of owners, it wasn't as well disseminated as it could have been. So now we're getting a lot of those cases. And when I ask about it, most of the owners, or their management companies will say they can't get an inspector to come with such a backlog. To get it, and they're jacking up the price. So somehow or other, maybe the legislature is gonna deal with that. And, but that's a critical concern to me, as not only a judge, but as a homeowner. I've lived in Providence all my life. I was born in the North End, Providence, 5 years old, moved to the Elmhurst area, I'm still there. So this is my city, and I drive around. Chief talked about the resources to get inspection. And, I was kind of joking a little bit with some of the inspection folks, and by the way, they are wonderful, they do hard work. The court staff is great, EIS people are doing the best they can with the resources they have, but I guess they're basically somewhat overextended. But some of the stuff is low hanging fruit. I'm in the neighborhood every day. I told Mayor Rosa when he called to appoint me. I said, Mayor, I know, like kiddingly, I said, I know every crack in the sidewalks in the city because I'm here. And so I'll drive in. And I gotta stay in my lane as the judge, not as an enforcement guy. But some of the stuff, you don't have to be Columbo to see. Let's get some notices and get them in. And I was proud of one that I drive by this every day, come down East Street onto Douglas Ave, near Chad Brown Street, and this place looked like downtown Beirut. It was palm dotted, you could see right through the rafters. And again, I want to stay in my lane there. But somehow I think I said to one of the inspectors, you guys been on Chad Brown Street lately? Kind of a little message that, and I understand it's not a criticism at all because they are overworked. They just don't have the resources, and it's hard. I mean, even to get people if you had the budget to hire them, to pay them, you want to get people that are in certain construction disciplines and electrical, plumbing, get people that have some value to bring to it, but how do you get folks? Got to get them at the right point in their career, that they willing to do something for a lot less money because they can afford that. But my point is, I don't want to ramble here, it's easier to do. But my experience so far is one, I think that the court is very well run. I'm very honored to serve under the chief, get good leadership. I was also advocating strongly with the chief for technology. As an attorney and familiar with the state system, it's electronic, everything is electronic filed. But our court in that respect is supposed to budget. Literally paper files, and I get the file handed to me by the clerk, and I'm getting paper cuts. And I'm trying to find the complaint so I can see that, first of all, is there any lead? And I have to go through all this stuff, like a 4-pound file. So the good news is the chief said is that the city is hiring a company. They're working on a system. And our court is very unique in terms of the technology need. We're not like probate, we're not like municipal. We're different in the sense that it's very specific, and whatever system or program they're going to give us is going to be very much tailored to what we need. I sat in on a few meetings with the computer folks, company that received the contract, and I wanted them to hear from the judge's perspective of what we need on that bench so that we can do this in an efficient way. And also, you want to have public access to to the fire. And, it's coming. We're hearing that, you know, they're moving it along, they met with the clerks. And, first thing I said to the folks that when they came from the company is, have you ever seen a fire? Or what these ladies do? And, not yet. I said, well, that we need to see. It's not so much selling a product and a dog and pony show about all their other clients and what they do. I'm kind of a nuts and bolts person and kind of a process person. So once they saw what the movement of the paper actually is, now they're gonna use technology to enhance that product. So I'm looking forward, as I know the chief is, and we're all looking forward to that point where right on the bench, we can just scroll it down, we can see the complaint, we can see the pleadings, we can see everything. So I'm very excited about that. I don't want to ramble too much here.
We're excited to hear how this is moving. How long do you think it will be before you have the records? The record system up and running?
I want to say that, I would say maybe in a 6-month
Okay.
run here to get it. They've been in there, they're working with the clerks, and they have a good now understanding of how that file moves. And then they're gonna apply the technology to it. So I would say, I'm hoping 6 months will actually be, we'll have something.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yes, please, Councilor Anderson.
Thank you so much for your service and for all of this information. A very quick question. The chief mentioned that sometimes there are emergencies where sometimes you might have to come in on a weekend, or can you explain a circumstance that might be a more of an emergency case than some of these others where I would imagine the rafter building, that is an emergency, but it doesn't sound like that was. So can you talk about
Sure.
what might constitute?
Well,
an emergency?
most recently, there's a property on Spruce Street. We're all familiar with the Service Pizza and Pastiche. So if you're looking at Pastiche, front door to the left is another structure, and then to the left of that is an empty lot. And essentially, the evidence and the facts kind of indicated that this contract, I'll be kind about it, but wasn't exactly following the rules relative to permitting and inspection. To the point that it was it was excavated, there's a hole in the ground. It was a partial foundation. And the city came in and issued a cease and desist, I should say DIS did. And then brought it to our court to obtain an order from me, essentially shutting it down, that work. That was on a Thursday. I heard testimony and said, I'd like to see everyone tomorrow. This was an afternoon on Thursday. I said, I'd like to see everybody on that site tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. We did a view. And that's the best thing for me as the judge to go out and see what's there. And it's kind of horrifying. And I issued an order, again, stopping everything and also ordering that the own contract make every effort with the city to ensure public safety. And I was concerned because if you can picture this, if you looked at it, it looked as if it all like undermined the neighboring property. So that if you're digging that hole and you're too close, that could affect the integrity of the neighboring property. It could collapse. I was really concerned. So the city worked with this contractor, with what they call a temporary shoring plan. To at least, first of all, stop everything and do whatever you have to do from an engineering point to make sure that we're not gonna have a disaster over there. And so to answer your question, that is an example of an emergency situation, really the highest priority. And we were able to resolve it. A lot of lawyering, a lot of, saber rattling, but the city, and I commend them for working with this recalcitrant owner. And I'm happy to say right now, things are safe. And they're gonna move on, and at the end of it, they will result in more houses. Because this contract, even though he wasn't following all those rules, he is building, I think, 8 or 9 units. Which is good, because we need that.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, comments? Any motion?
Make a motion to approve number 7.
Motion to approve the recommendation by Councilor Taylor, seconded by Councilor Sanchez, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you again so
Thank you
much.
very much.
We appreciate you coming. It's nice to get to know you.
Yeah, same here.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you.
Come by the court anytime.
Oh, great, yeah.
Yeah, you're invited.
That sounds
right?
great.
Yeah.
We'll come.
Little field trip. All right,
Take care.
thank you. Since we have more business, I'm going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you. Okay.
Who made the motions?
What?
Who made the motion?
We're not motioning.
I'll make the motion to
For an
adjourn.
adjournment, yes.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Make-
Well, all records. I made the motion.
Second.
I'll second.
All right.
Yeah, the chair doesn't have to make the motion to adjourn.
I thought it was-
She can adjourn herself.
Yeah, I can do that anyway. This one was to me.
We need the motion.
We need the motion for our records, yes.
Miguel, what were you looking for?